Hi, I'm Kate Plus, and this is episode 3 of our Kate Plus podcast. We are on our week 3. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kate Plus, for your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration. So, in this podcast, I'll be talking about how to survive mentally as a foreigner living in Japan. So sa topic na ito ay based lamang po sa experiences and observations ko dito. I have been living here in Japan for almost 14 years now and married to a Japanese national for 14 years. So I'll be making 2 parts of this podcast. Part 1 is about my observations here in Japan, why ang dali-dali ma-depress dito. And part 2 is my real life experience of depression and anxieties that even led me to suicidal thoughts and suicidal attempts. So, I came here in Japan when I was 18 years old. So, napakabata. I was 18. I couldn't speak Japanese at all. So, I'll talk about my experiences and how I survived depression when I first came here, and I will share to you how to survive and be mentally strong as a foreigner living dito sa Japan. Before I talk about surviving mentally here in Japan, pag-usapan muna natin ang Japan at mga Japanese as to why you need to know how to survive mentally here dito sa Japan. So, when you search up from Google about Japan's suicidal rate, the result is in 2022, Japan reported 17.5 suicides per 100,000 inhabitants. The country's suicide rate had shown a steady downwards trend over the past decade but began to rise again in 2020. The unexpected upward trend is likely to be connected with the pandemic or the COVID-19. Pero even before the pandemic, this has been going on for years and it only rises up again sa year 2020. I mean, it's been like this. It's happening. I was once a witness also of public suicide incident here in Japan. Napaka-sensitive po nito. So, if may mga anak po kayo or minor po kayo na nakikinig at nanonood this time, wag nyo lang po munang i-watch or iparinig itong podcast or to watch this together. Or if you're a minor, best not to watch this muna. This topic is very, very sensitive. So, as much as possible, I want to narrate my experience of what I witnessed as delicate as possible. So way back 2017, that was 7 years ago, a man in his 50s, I think, tumalon siya sa tren at nabunggo ng tren. And dito malapit sa amin sa Osaka. And I won't disclose the name of the station. I didn't see the actual na tumalon siya at nabunggo. But what I saw was the dead body only. The police came and covered it with a blue sheet. So, if ganitong mga nangyayari, trains are delayed for as long as 1 to 1.5, maximum of 2 hours talaga. I was on my way to class at that time, to my Japanese school. I was running late also when I saw that dead body covered. Speechless talaga ako when I witnessed that. I was traumatized actually to think na itong taong ito, may pamilya ito. I was even thinking if paano kung maliit pa yung mga anak nito. I saw him he wore nice suits and shiny shoes. So I speculated that he really planned out this suicide. So I look around wanting to see if people who might be concerned kasi syempre, Japanese yung nag-suicide, diba? If kung sa Pilipinas pa yon, siguro, nagpapanik na siguro mga tao who want to intervene or makimarites or yet alone help the person not to do that, maybe. So to my surprise, wala ni isang Japanese who bothered to even look or even show sympathy. They just didn't intervene or whatsoever. What's worse pa, at that time, I heard someone complaining about the time, the trouble this person did who committed suicide, the trouble that had caused them. Yeah, since bago pa ako sa Japan, I was more traumatized to think and witness that incident and the reaction na rin on how come they can still think of themselves and their work. Na yun pa rin ang iniisip nila instead of that person. I just specifically said yung tao na yun kasi I don't want to generalize lahat ng mga Japanese naman. So, yun lang, siya lang yung narinig ko. I asked my Japanese husband about that, if it's normal to react that way. And he even said that normal lang daw. Kasi selfish person daw yung nag-commit ng suicide publicly that has disrupt other lives and time. He could have done that at home or privately and not ask for attention. So, yun yung comment ng husband ko. Now, nakutaw talaga yung utak ko when I heard this comment coming from him. I was hoping for some sympathy for that person who committed suicide kasi nakakaawa. But with this meaning to say that it's really normal and it's happening here in Japan. So, maybe most Japanese don't bother anymore. Now, let's talk about why ang dali ma-depress at malungkot at magka-anxiety as a foreigner living here in Japan. So let's understand more about it. First is, of course, the language barrier. It's very hard to communicate and express yourself here or get help whenever you want it because of the language. Given the fact na may mga translators na and it's much more convenient to communicate compared to before using translating apps. But let's take a look at the other reason, okay? So we have here, for me lang social characteristics of a Japanese. Now again, this is just based on my observation and experience only. What are social characteristics of a Japanese? Now, disclaimer, I am not generalizing everyone, based on what I've observed to some people or the people I met. So, what are the social characteristics of some or most Japanese? One word that describes that, onion, sibuyas. Alam mo yung opinion na maraming, alam mo yung onion, opinion, alam mo yung onion na maraming layer, when you need to peel it layer by layer, wala kang makukuha na core kasi it's just composed of layers. That's how I can describe Japanese social characteristics. They're like onions. So in each category of their life, may it be work, friends, family, they have an each layer of personality for each category. Tayong mga Pinoy, wala tayo nun. Actually, we just have the same personality and we carry ourselves to whatever aspects in our life. Paanong category pa yan. Hindi tayo nagbabago-bago ng ugali. Pero, ang mga Hapon, they change. Depende sa environment, depende rin sa tao at lugar na kung saan sila. At a young age, they are already taught to think and adjust for the environment, not the environment adjust for them. Kaya sa kaka-adjust ng mga Hapon sa environment at tao sa paligid, just like the onion that doesn't have a core, they also suffer or some suffer from identity crisis from younger to middle age. They couldn't express themselves actually. It's hard. Kaya may mga Hapon na malakas rin makadiscriminate sa mga ibang foreigners na hindi marunong mag-Japanese because they felt that we are not adjusting to the environment, or if nandito na tayo sa Japan, it's actually kind of disrespectful for them. Secretly lang na you don't learn their language or culture, or understand their culture given the fact kung nandito ka na sa Japan. And because of these layers, ang hirap makakuha ng deeper social connection with Japanese. Unless if that Japanese has traveled abroad na and open-minded na siya, confident na siya sa sarili niya, but they're also not showing like a welcoming atmosphere also, unless if friend ka na ha, they are always on guard like an onion na may mga layers then yung self-guard nila to protect themselves and their sanity. Japanese also don't trust or give that sympathy to others right away. Onion nga, daming layers. So I have known and dealt with students that have used bullying in class for self-defense because they're also suffering inside on how they can understand themselves better or is asking for attention or want to be seen or heard kasi palagi na lang silang nag-a-adjust. So one way is that they bully. Another social characteristic of a typical Japanese is they can camouflage in any situation. Like pretend they like something even if it's not, pretend that they are nice but they will talk behind you, but they are very very actually good pretenders. But if you have formed friendship already and that Japanese already have opened up, then magbabago na yon. Okay? Now, they also put up different masks also in whatever person or whoever they face to. So, ang hirap i-decipher sila. Because of this, nahirap makakuha ng human connection dito sa Japan. On top of that is napakahirap din ng language na Nihongo. As a foreigner living here, it's so easy to feel isolated and lonely. And once you're lonely, it will connect to anxiety and depression na talaga. Ang hirap nga makakonect sa mga tao because of their layering. I would have to admit that there are times that I too have hard time connecting with my husband because of these masks, these layers that he can also put up. Although Japanese partners are very supportive naman and they would want to have a peaceful home always, because of these layering, it is so hard to get their true opinion. Like, totoo ba tong nararamdaman o opinion niya? Or baka sinasabi lang niya kasi nag-a-adjust siya sa akin or gusto lang niya ng peaceful atmosphere or environment sa sitwasyon na to. Knowing the main root of the people's characteristics here, we can little by little understand that true human emotional connection is hard to attain here in Japan, and that's how the society is designed for survival. And then we can just respect it that way and embrace its uniqueness of their personality and culture. Instead of thinking na ang lungkot dito sa Japan, ang hirap sa Japan, iba ang culture ng mga tao, one way to mentally survive and thrive living here in Japan is that let's use their characteristics to our advantage. I mean, don't abuse. I don't mean abuse, but let's try to look at the positive side that they can maintain peace through this culture. And the best way to survive mentally is to embrace yourself more and just be yourself in a good way, Because now you know that Japanese have layers and they can also mirror your personality. And just like an onion affected by it in its external temperature, ganun din sila. They can actually adapt right away depende sa person na kaharap nila. So if you exude positive energy, positive rin sila. And if negative ka naman, they can also mirror and get affected with that, and you also get negative or bad results then from their end. So just don't lose yourself and identity. You need to protect it kasi kapag tatagal ka dito sa Japan, sometimes ma-adapt mo yung personality nila na you just have to adjust always and mag-adapt ka na lang sa environment at sa mga tao. It's okay to do this, but just don't lose yourself in the process, okay? Know your worth, know your boundaries, and limitations pa rin. If stress na sa trabaho or life in Japan, take a step back to mentally charge and create your boundaries and limitations. Protect yourself. Don't always endure na maabot sa point na, sobra na to. There should be a measure. Sukatin mo yung endurance level mo so that you won't suffer or you won't get hurt mentally or emotionally. Also, have someone or community na maiintindihan ka. Maybe friends or trusted family that you can open up your feelings and emotions. This is very, very important. Especially the time na mentally, emotionally exhausted ka. Talk to someone. Also, one thing I notice here is hindi pala sila marunong mag-compliment dito. Very rare sa mga Japanese na mag-compliment on your good work since it's their custom to work hard and hard work and full efforts ay parang natural na dito sa kanila, dito sa Japan. And they use this greeting na otsukaresama desu, meaning thanks for the work. Ganun lang. But compliments, not really. Not really. Kaya, never lose yourself in the process of understanding the life and culture here. Protect yourself always and understand yourself better. I hope you have some takeaway in this podcast for the part 1. And next week, part 2, I'll be talking about my own experiences naman with depression and anxiety here in Japan and how I survived them. Thanks so much for watching or listening to this podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Kate Plus. And I'll see you on our next podcast. God bless!